What's up, guys? Stormcloud here with Digital Syrup to do a review of the PlayStation Sharpshooter. I'm one-handing it here, so you're going to have to forgive me. I played through the entire single-player campaign of Killzone 3 with this. I had a blast doing it. And I'm going to give you my general impressions, also walk through what the buttons do. Hopefully I won't miss any. If I do, please feel free to comment. And basically leave you with my overall impressions as to whether I think you should buy it, or just try it, or in this case you can't rent it, so it's going to be buy or try. So starting things right off, you can see you have the PlayStation Move controller as well as the nav controller seated in there. They stay in there pretty solid. It's pretty simple to actually load them in there as well. There's two little releases that you pull, which I'm not going to do because I'm one-handing it. I'm sure it'll pop out and I'll never get it back in. You have select on this side, start on the other, which you don't really use either one of those except to access the menu in game. These face buttons on top of the Move controller, thank you to Sony for putting a processor in the gun so that you don't actually have to touch any of those other than actually turning it on with the individual PlayStation buttons on there. So starting with the most important button, of course, the trigger. So this is the one that lets the bullets fly. Hopefully wins you the round. In the case of single player, it's the one that's going to get you through the campaign if you're using it skillfully enough. Right below the trigger you'll see there is a PlayStation Move button. That mirrors the PlayStation Move button that's on top, that big thumb button. So I say mirrors, you never have to reach up and touch that button, you use this one. In Killzone 3 this is used to stick to cover, duck or stick to cover in single player. In multiplayer there is no cover, therefore it's just to duck or if you're a dirty bugger to teabag somebody once you kill them. You'll see here there's a little lock button. That actually just stops you from being able to press that, so I guess if you don't want to accidentally teabag somebody. I'm sure it might have a more useful purpose in other games, but in Killzone 3 it simply prevents you from ducking. So, and you'll see above that there is a fire rate switch. This is actually not used in Killzone. So it's just there for decoration for that game, although I did play the SOCOM 4 beta. It was used in that. Just as you'd expect, the one dot was for single shot. The center one was automatic, and then if you push it all the way to the top, or the three dots, that actually switched to the underbarrel grenade launcher. Next you'll see above the trigger, actually I'll go on the other side here. Above the trigger you have the square and triangle. In Killzone this is used to jump, and the triangle is used to switch to your sidearm or switch to your secondary weapon. You get a little close-up view of that. You have a few options for reload, the simplest of which is just to tilt the controller on an angle like that. I say simplest, it's not the one that I ended up using, which I'll talk about last. The next one is to basically slap that button where the clip would be, which is a very natural motion. It's like you're slapping another clip in, but because of the high sensitivity that I was playing the game at, I did not use that one. I was looking for the most control, and I ended up going with the pump action reload. So usually you're gripping here because you're actually controlling. Of course I would be doing so with my other hand, but simply pulling in on that will actually reload as well. And that's probably the most satisfying and quickest overall way to reload the gun. I don't think I forgot any buttons, but I'm going to talk about the ones on the nav controller in a second. Before I do that, you'll see here this is fully extended, one-handing it here, so that's kind of a telescopic stock on there that comes back in notches. You can pull it back, and if you press this release button you can push it back in. Not all that useful unless you were, if you're sniping, if you're sitting back and sniping, you could probably actually have that against your shoulder and it may serve you. Because of the nature of the way the move is implemented, which is the best implementation I've seen so far, but still, the way that it works is that you're kind of doing this kind of fishy move with your gun, and because it controls your motion, and therefore this stock kind of gets in the way sometimes. So moving on to the rest of the buttons, on the nav controller you have a directional pad, an analog stick, you have the X button as well as the circle button. In Killzone Let me remember. So the analog stick does what you would expect. It moves it moves you through the game. So strafing forward, back, and then moving the controller actually will change where you're looking. On the front, you have an L1 and L2. The L1 in this game will throw grenades. L2 is to look down the iron sights or to zoom in through a scope. I'm trying to remember what that button click does. Oh, to run. So clicking in on the analog stick will make you run. The X button is used primarily, I believe, to pick up weapons that are from fallen soldiers. So if you just took a guy down, you could pick up his gun, you'd hold down X to do that. The circle button is used for multiple things, reloading at the ammo boxes. It is also used for setting charges. And that's one kind of piece that took a little bit of getting used to while it was in the Sharpshooter was, of course your thumb is on the analog stick, but you're kind of using the lower part of your thumb to either rest onto the X button or the circle button, and that took a little while to get used to. The D-pad that you see there will actually be used for the various skills that the classes have. I'm probably using the wrong term for that. Perks or skills, so whether it's to lay down a turret if you're an engineer, or to pull out your repair tool. Though that's what the D-pad is used for. I've only used left or right. I don't know that I've ever had to use up or down. I don't think so. And that pretty much covers all of the buttons. You can see on the top here, it looks like that might be a place to put a future peripheral, like some kind of scope. It's kind of interesting that actually feels like you could remove that piece, but I wasn't able to do that. You'll see I have the ISA stickers on there. It came with Killzone ISA as well as Helgen stickers, or Helgas stickers, as well as SOCOM 4 stickers. So, what do I think of it? I had a blast playing through the single-player campaign, although I did a fair amount of tweaking before I felt it was anywhere playable. By default, the dead zone height and width is set to 50%. I brought that right away down to 0, which immediately felt better, but I had to tweak some other settings. I ended up playing, for the most part, with the Sharpshooter. I had the first 3 settings, first 2 being the dead zone at 0, the third, which is a sensitivity, also at 0, and the turn speed with move in the Sharpshooter at about 80%, and with move out of the Sharpshooter I was able to raise it to 100%, and it played quite a bit better actually out of the Sharpshooter. So I'm still leaning towards a buy on this because I really had a blast. It's a very solid peripheral. It's really built well. It was really fun to play with. If you're going to play competitively online, I think you can beat someone with a DualShock. I think you can beat them with the Move. If you're playing with Move, I think you have a darn good chance, all things being equal, of beating somebody speed-wise with the Move peripheral. If you throw in the Sharpshooter, you're not gaining accuracy because you're actually probably sacrificing a little bit. It's a little bit harder to wield. You got 2 hands in kind of, the gun holding position or the rifle holding position, which is not quite as comfortable as sitting with, the nav controller in your left hand, the Move controller in your right, just resting on your lap, and that's the way I ended up playing. So I go back every once in a while and I'll throw this in, and it is quite fun. Each pull of the trigger sends a vibration from this Move controller through the gun, and that's quite cool. It's you really don't quite get that feeling when you're holding just the Move controller in your hand. So the sensation of actually holding a rifle is quite good with this. Overall, I'd say it is a buy, but if you're just out to be as accurate as you can, go with the Move. Or if you're, just sick with the DualShock, then stick with that. But overall, I had to buy it. I knew I was going to buy it as soon as I saw it. For $39, I would say it's worth it. It's probably going to go down in price as well, so that's a good thing. So yeah, I would say it's a buy. But again, if you're going to play competitively, you'll probably do better with just the Move controllers. So hopefully you enjoyed this walkthrough. That's my French coming out. This walkthrough. Tune in for more walkthroughs of tech, games, and peripherals. This is Stormcloud from Digital Syrup. Peace out.